Hey there, TACT, and welcome to the training video here that I'm going to give to you guys. That'll use myself as a demonstration in order to show you how you can use a lot of different classes and a lot of particular little tricks that you may not know or may have known but have forgotten about. I have it kind of jumbled up here. It's not in any specific order. I'm going to start by showing you how to do basic mobility with the scientist. And this is a couple of tricks I picked up from playing with guns and with the Great Ash. And so I'm going to show you how to have good maneuverability like what you see here. Class and frame does make somewhat of a difference sometimes depending upon speed and good control. Like what it is I'm doing now, you want to be able to have good control depending upon what your frame of preference is. That will allow you to do easy transformations back and forth between robot and vehicle mode and easy gliding amongst the air. When you jump, give yourself a little bit of space before you hit the ground, and well, you don't want to run into anything particularly. You want to try and make sure that it's a nice, smooth flow for the most part. Like I can't go into that thing right now, but I'm going to get to that later. See, low enough in order to make sure you can grab health or ammo, all in one smooth go. Left, right, and pass up here, not really bumping into anything, that way it doesn't slow momentum. Alright, next we're going to go up the side and do a tight corner all the way back here and try to get through that little thing down here in center. Like so. Oh, fail. The key to good control when flying a scientist is mobility and momentum. If you have good momentum, then coming in through a little area like this, when you're coming in at it at top speed, is almost a piece of cake. I messed up on it just now because I didn't have enough momentum going through it. But if you have momentum just like this, or like this, you go straight through it. Having good momentum like that is not also good for when you want to try and come in at good speed and drop a sentry, but it's also a good speed at which to execute your roles as a medic if you're a medic, because being able to have good mobility is the key to response time, especially a fast response time. Like you gotta go all the way through here, boom, medic, do your thing, out the corner, boom, bow, all the way around here, medic, do your thing, out and around. It does take some practice in order to fly around without running into anything, so I suggest to practice using the frames that you like or that have the least amount of bump, or when they bump into something, and then just practice makes perfect. Next I'm going to show you a different frame with the same execution. Now, I do know that some of you guys haven't given this frame a try. This is the Sharpshot frame, I believe, T.A.C.T character. But I do suggest to give him a try. His frame is almost ideal for medic because it's so ridiculously fast, and the mobility is very, very keen. Did you notice how I was able to easily make that curve as tight as it was? Watch. I'll demonstrate it again. Smooth. The thing about this frame is that it has a huge amount of speed, but its maneuverability is also very, very tight. So you have to be able to know how to use scientists very well. And you want to be able to have good control over which direction you want to go in. When it comes to overall character class response time, the scientists do have the best, if not one of the best times for having good response time. Next is the Scout class. Now, you're probably wondering exactly what do you want me to teach you about the Scout class that you don't already know about basic mobility and how to use Scout frames to your advantage as best as you're able to in order to take the least amount of damage possible. Well, what I have equipped right now is going to be the Lights Out that I'm going to try and show you how to use this in combination with whatever outline you have. Predominantly, you want to use the Lights Out ability with an EMP Scout outline. Now, before Lights Out hits, it's necessary to know which type of layout you want to use. If you want to use a 4-point, 3-point, or 2-point Path Blaster setup, that way you can move in close, Lights Out, instantly switch to your secondary weapon, Insta-Shot. Let's start with 2 for right now. And then... Now, let's try this again. Say, let's start with, yeah, that'll do it. Say this box with the enemy. 3 shots before Lights Out. 3, move in. That combo alone would take the enemy's shield down not only instantly, but would also take his health down more than halfway short of critical instantly. Next, we're going to do 2-point. Before Lights Out, let me get back into position and I'll show you again with 2 black shots this time. If you're a close range scout, that move works really well in order to allow you to get as close as possible. 1 extra shot in order to take down shield if you're not already close enough to take down shield. Lights Out at close range is going to drop them instantly down to below 40-30 HP, if not just kill them in 1 shot almost. Also, when you're in the environment, depending upon the map, look for little instances on the ground that will allow you to have good traction and will allow you to have good jumping capabilities that'll get you into high places and good leverage over top of your opponent very quickly. And you can use this to your advantage on almost any map as long as you pay attention to where these things are, like this. Press X right at the tip of Ascension when you get in the air. Vehicle mode, this works best, so when you transform into robot mode from vehicle mode, you'll already more or less be right over top of your enemy and drop the weapons. And you're good to go. Okay guys, next up here is going to be the leader class movement, or destroyer as they call it here on the FOC grid. This one I don't have to show you too much since the destroyer is the most commonly used in our group, so I don't really have to show you too much. Now how it is I got up there I'm going to show you in a minute, because it's a very interesting trick that comes from using hover. And this move is called the hover bounce. Now to get from the ground here to the top up there where I originally was, the key in proper execution lies in pressing not only R2 to activate hover, but transforming into vehicle mode at the same time. But they both have to be in a specific order, which I will show you. Jumping with the character in robot mode does help too, but it is not required. It just gives you a little extra airtime should you need it. Let me pick this up just in case. Now let me see if I can show you here. It's going to be R2 and the transformation button. Hang on. Oh, that's interesting. Alright, let me show you again. How I made that jump there just now came from using hover bounce from there to here by transforming, pressing R2 right at the tip of transform. Here to over there. Let's do this again. Transform R2. And there you go. Let me show you again. Let's go from the tip of there, from right here. Transform R2. See? This is a very handy knowledge that allows the destroyer to get to high places very quick. And there are a number of destroyer specialists that I've seen and I've met over the past year, couple years, that do specialize in using hover over using the barrier. And I want to give you guys a chance to know how to use the hover in a very interestingly defensive and tactical way. That way it can give you options to work with in the field. Because not all players, whether they're good or bad, not all players have a chance to have a fast response time to a hover destroyer because they go up in the air so quickly before you have time to respond. And combined with A4 and riot cannon, it makes for a very deadly and dangerous combination. I know some of you guys like to use the barrier destroyer because the barrier for protection, which can work offensively and defensively as well. But I want to give you guys a chance to know that hover, even though it's least used amongst all of us and all of our friends, it is just as dangerous, if not deadlier, than the barrier. Because the barrier can only do but so much. And that will be my next documentation that I go into. I'm going to see if I can make this jump so you players can also get an idea about the length that the hover bounce has from here to up there. So you have an idea of how big of a jump this is. See? Next is the barrier destroyer, which we're all very familiar with. Main tip about putting up the barrier is not only in paying attention to where you put it up in the field, but how to get around it should you be facing one. The main indicators are going to be on the top, left-hand side, and right-hand side respectively. And your enemy is going to move as the barrier is placed there. But you also want to keep track of the time as to how long it's going to be active when they're going to keep moving around and trying to get around the barrier. Because if they stay too close, it'll be easier for you to headshot or corner shot them, which will lower their health faster since it'll be in succession. Also, depending upon the barrier is how long it'll take for the barrier to come back up. When you have Barrier 1, the Fortify upgrade, it only takes about a second or so for it to come back up, as you can see. If you have Upgrade 2 for Ensnare, it'll take about 2, almost 3 seconds for it to come back up. And if you have the last upgrade, it takes about 3 seconds for it to come back up. The second the barriers go down, that's when it makes it easier for you to get shots on your opponent. And that's also the time to press forward, because for the split 2 to 3 seconds of time, they have no way of defending themselves other than being around a teammate, if it's in a team structure environment. If it's a one-on-one, it makes it a lot easier to get close, but you have to be very careful about the time. If you're too close for too long, the barrier can spring up on you and it backfires. Keep in mind that vehicle rockets can also be very useful in successive damage also, since it does very good splash damage both around corners and over top of the barriers.
Autobots win the match.
And lastly is going to be with the Titan class. I'm going to teach you mainly with this one how to predict enemy mobility and enemy movement. Like, say, from here to... oh my gosh. There we go. From here to there. Be this another Titan, Destroyer, Scout, or even a Scientist. Scientists are easier to predict when you're playing as a Titan. How much time it would take for them in order to get from point A to point B. You want to shoot right there, as soon as you can predict how much time it'll take for them in order to get from point A to point B. And keep the point around that area when you go to shoot. Shoot a second before they arrive at that point. That way the tank cannon's mortar will already arrive there to meet them as soon as they get there. Let's try that again. Like, say for instance they're coming down this thing here right before they get to the ramp. And they're coming to right about here. You want to shoot it right around this area here where I'm standing at. In some cases, if it doesn't hit them directly for a direct amount of damage, it can also do environmental damage where the splash damage will do more, just as much, if not a little less damage than the actual impact. Titan frames that are easy at predicting enemy movements would probably be between the hard shell frame, Brawl's frame, and Grimlock's off the top of my head. Those three, off the top of my head right now, are the three best frames that can predict enemy movement very easily because of how they move. All Titan frames move differently and thus require different movements in order to predict them as well as you can. So just mess around with different outlines and see what it is that works best for you. And hopefully these tips I've given you can all help between all the classes. Give me some feedback on how you like it. Cool.